Hi. So I'm Alex Flanagan. I am a doula and childbirth educator in South Jersey, and I teach Hypnobirthing, which is a course that specializes in helping families prepare for birth in a way that they can kind of reset their nervous system and remain calm so that their body is able to progress kind of the way that nature intended, so that helps them lessen unnecessary interventions during birth.
Why did you switch from your corporate job to being a doula?
Yeah, so much like you, I kind of started this more as like an interest in just birth in general and wanting to like really feel informed and empowered with my own pregnancies. So, you know, when I got pregnant with my first, I literally knew nothing. He's 9 now, and it's funny, I was just talking to my mom on the way here, just about like, you know, the way birth was like talked about in my household. Like, she had a very interesting birth experience, but she never talked about it in a traumatic way, even though it was like an emergent type situation. So anyway, I say that because like I didn't really look at birth as this like scary, crazy, painful experience. I just didn't know a lot. I didn't know much at all. And so anyway, when I had my son, I had like a very good birth experience, and things didn't go like 100% according to plan, but you know, I took really great classes and I had a doula and I felt like it was a good experience. And then when I would tell people about it, they'd be like, "You're crazy, that's so weird. Like, I can't believe you did that. Like, you're nuts," you know? And then I was still working full time in corporate retail, and I actually like worked freelance for a little bit because, you know, when you have babies, it's like hard to like go back to that 9 to 5 corporate environment where you're working like 65 hours a week and never with your baby. So anyway, I did that for a little bit, and then I got pregnant with my second. And when I got pregnant with my second, I was like full throttle, like reading all the books, like watching all the things, and her birth was the only one that I went into spontaneous labor with. And after my experience with her, I was like, I want to do this. I just want to help other families, like, you know that it's possible to have a good experience. And everything went like as close to it as it could to being like how I wanted with her, because, you know, that is rare that it happens. But so I ended up taking a doula training after that, and then maybe like I was like 4 or 5 months postpartum, I got pregnant with my third. And I was like just not in a space like emotionally, definitely physically, I was not ready to be pregnant again. But you know, I was excited. I was just more so scared than anything else because I wasn't ready. I mean, my first 2 were planned as much as I could, and to have an unexpected pregnancy and like think that we were done at 2 and then get pregnant with 3, and you know, people don't really like to talk about that because, like, you know, my daughter is, I couldn't imagine my life with her not in it and her not a part of my family, but it was a lot to process. But I had this passion project that I was just kind of like, you know, not necessarily focusing on, but it made me feel good. It felt good in my soul to like talk about my experiences, to help people, inform people. Even though I wasn't like taking doula clients yet, I would still post about stuff on social media and try to, you know, drop little hints of like other content creators on like ways that people can be informed and stuff like that. And so with Ruby, I was actually going to have a home birth. I was like, okay, like I'm pregnant again. This isn't what we expected, but I would really love to have a home birth this time because I had these 2 like unmedicated low intervention births that went smooth the first time. And then at like 24 weeks, I found out she had fetal growth restriction. So she like wasn't growing. Well, there was also some other barriers. You know, there's like barriers to home birth, which stinks. But like financially, my husband has like amazing insurance, and you know, he was like, it'll cost us $50 to have a baby in the hospital again. And so we were already kind of like grappling with that. And then I love home births. I think they're an amazing option for, you know, moms that want to have one and like are, you know, the right candidate, low risk, and they want to have one. They're beautiful, and I love being a part of home births. And it was very healing the first time I had a home birth client who had 2 other kids, and I got to be there. I kind of had to like take myself out for a second and like check myself and be like, this is not about me.
Because it wasn't your moment, like, but you were feeling the feeling.
But I was like emotional at how beautiful it was. And for me, when I left that experience, I was like, this was a very healing, beautiful experience for me, and I'm so glad that I got to support her and be there for her. She didn't know any of that about me, because that's not my role as a doula to share that with her. But for me, like, that healed a part of me, that because I mourn, or not anymore, but I did, that I didn't get to have that experience.
Right.
So, like, ambivalence, I believe, that like, you can have those two feelings coexist together at the same time. Certainly, Ruby's gonna be 5 in March, and this work has definitely helped me. Like I said, even just having her the day that the world shut down, we did like virtual mommy and me meetups, and like that was healing for me to just connect with other clients, or not even clients, just other people that were going through the same thing that I was. I've had a handful of clients that are going on, that was their first. And that was the thing I always said. I'm like, that was my, gratitude. Like, I was just so grateful that she wasn't my first, that I had experienced postpartum before, and I had, at least kind of knew what to expect, even though we were alone experiencing it together, just as a family. I couldn't imagine if it was just my first kid. And now I've gotten to help and support moms that are in the process of like having their second. Their first they were pandemic babies, and I'm like, I'm in all of them, and how did they do that? It seems like when there's 3 kids, there's always one. That's how Ruby is. Like, there's just always one that it's like, oh my god, when are we gonna get over this next hurdle? Yes, there's light at the end of the tunnel for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate it. I love Ruby. Like, we were going every week pretty much from 26 weeks on. It was a high-risk pregnancy, and during that time I also found out that the company that I worked for was they were filing for bankruptcy and going out of business. And when I had her, my boss, who was so sweet, I loved her, she was like, can you just like fast track your layoff with your maternity leave, and you can take it at the same time? And I was like, yes, I do. Please do that. And so what ended up happening was, like, I think I had already had 1 or 2 clients lined up, and I was just going to do it as a passion project. And it just organically ended up turning into this like full-time job, like profession, like that I'm super passionate about, where
A lot of people don't get that.
I was very lucky. It ended up being such a blessing that I got laid off, like, because I had a little bit of unemployment to keep me afloat, and I could do things on the back end, and you know what I mean, like marketing.
It takes a while.
It does when you're 100%. When you're starting your own business, like, that's one thing that, we can take all the trainings and do all the additional education, which we should as a doula, but like, starting your own business is still starting your own business. And so I'm very grateful that I ended up having that little bit of cushion where I could take the skills that I had from working in corporate and the background that I had, and kind of apply it now. I'm still not great at marketing. I'm still not good at digital creation and content and those things. That's not where I thrive.
That wasn't your passion.
It wasn't. I thought it was, but it wasn't. And so I ended up just finding this through my own birth experiences and through having, my babies. So Ruby had fetal growth restriction, and at 37 weeks, we did a growth scan, and it looked like she was starting to improve, like, just a little bit. And I was like, great, I'm gonna have the chance to go into spontaneous labor, because I was like, coming at them with evidence every appointment and saying, like, are we sure that this is fetal growth restriction? Are we sure she's not just a small baby? Like, how do we know for sure? Now, mind you, my first 2 were 9. My first was 9:13, and my second was 9:15. So, when so not to jump too much ahead, but when she was born, she was 6 pounds. So she wasn't a tiny, preemie, micro baby, but she was still, something was probably restricting her growth based on the way that I grow babies, right? So I think I just got pregnant a little too soon before my body was completely healed. But that 37-week appointment, I'll never forget. I was like, oh, I'm going to be able to go into spontaneous labor, like, And then the next week I went back, and it's like, well, your placenta looks like it's starting to, like, actual evidence this time that it's like starting to fail, and she's just dropped again. And nobody, I tell clients, I'm like, I've never sat down with any person or family where they've been like, I'm going to do something to put my baby or myself in harm's way. If the risks outweighs the benefits, then that's when it becomes, time to move forward with whatever it is that they're recommending. And so We went, yeah, exactly. So I went in for an induction at 30. It was like pretty quickly after that appointment they scheduled it, and maybe like a day or so later. And you know, it was still a really good experience. I needed 2 doses of Prempidil, which they don't really use that often, but it's like a cervical hardening agent.
Okay.
I really wanted to stay away from the Pitocin, and
So they induced you. Okay.
yeah, and she was born. I had 1 dose of this might scare people. Now she was my 3rd kid. I had 1 dose of the medication, not a lot happening, early labor surges. I'm walking around the unit and I'm seeing like nurses and providers being hit for me, like, because you know it's March.
Yeah.
It was March 14th at that point, and then my OB, who I adore so much, she gave me the 2nd dose, and she was like, I'm not comfortable giving you more than 2 doses of this. Like, plus it's also very expensive. So like after this, we might have to talk about doing like just a little bit of Pitocin. And Ruby was born 45 minutes later. So it was a very.
Do you think you needed that 2nd dose?
I do. I think that it was the nudge that my body needed. I think I probably could have gotten there from a little bit of Pitocin, but I really didn't want that, and she knew that, and she was like always happy to meet me halfway with my preferences, which I think makes such a big difference. That's just the kind of care that she provides. So, you know, it was very fast. And that could have been from the medication, or that just could have been because she was my 3rd baby and she was 6 pounds compared to my other 2. But yeah, I mean, I literally didn't even push with her. It was like fetal ejection reflex, like.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But it was a mess. My husband had just had shoulder surgery. Like when I tell you that was like such a crazy time in my life and our lives. We had just had shoulder surgery, so I was like in the shower, and he was like leaning up against the wall, and he was like, Alex, he's like, I can see her head, and he like runs out, and he like gets the doctor, and she like comes running in, and she's like, all right, she's like, we're gonna try and get you to the bed, and then she like literally came in like ready to.
But she's making sure she's there to catch you. And what you do, you get to the bed successfully.
Yeah, and then in the next contraction, she just flew out. So I think it's changed so much from attending births, because I think as a doula, like our experiences don't really have much to do with how, or they shouldn't have much to do with how we're treating our clients, right? Like they're just the catalyst that got me here, and I'm grateful that they were such positive, empowering experiences. But I feel like my perception of what birth can be has changed since becoming a doula and attending more and more births, because you know, like I think really what makes the difference is like how we're treated and how we feel about our experience. I could attend a birth and be like, that was amazing. That mom was such a badass. She was so incredible. Yeah, so I never share how I try not to. You know, I will definitely tell them like I thought you were amazing, you were incredible. But like I've also been like had a birth where she was like, I really wish I went to meet like a epidural. You know, like that was not a good experience for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I really try to like, I can't, how I process it may be entirely different from how they process it. So I think that we're there to observe and provide support. My experiences were my experiences, and I'm so grateful that I had positive, amazing birth experiences so that I can help other people know that it's possible. Yeah. What was an amazing experience for me might not look like that for you, right? Like you might want an epidural. You might want like meds, whatever it is, that's okay, you know, as long as you're making that decision from like an informed place. That's how I feel, because I help and I've supported clients with all different preferences. I had a wonderful mentor when I was first starting out, and I remember her saying that exact thing to me, like once she understood the biomechanics of the pelvis, it changed the way she doulaed. It's like the most important thing. You want them to tuck their chin so that they can. And yeah, that is really tough when babies are in there, just like direct OP or even like, you know, asynclitic NOP. That is, you know, all we can do is like as doulas is move you and change positions and work on comfort measures and try to help navigate the baby through the pelvis. And I've learned so much from talking to midwives and, you know, or even talking to OBs. But I will certainly,
your body.
yeah, I will certainly learn as much as I can from whoever will talk to me in the moment that I'm in the birth space.
I'm
Right?
from person to person, just trying to
Absorb
soak
it all
in. Yeah,
that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. So when I have a client, we do 2 prenatals, and in one, the first prenatal, we always go through, I have like a 13-page questionnaire that my doula partner and she came up with it actually. And so when we, even if I don't partner, she's like, you can use it. And it's been such a helpful tool because it goes through, you know, different ways that they feel best, the way that they best communicate when they're stressed, or how they can best calm themselves down.
do they want to be touched?
Yeah, all those things. And then, you know, comfort measures, different things. I have like my doula bag that I always bring with me. And even sometimes with like clients are there for an induction, you know, I'll go there that night and set everything up and leave them my bag and be like, call me, you know, call me when you're ready. Even if it means that you're, you know, not that true like active. Like, the comb is helpful because it's that like gate control theory where you know, if we're distracting one sense, it's gonna possibly, we can't focus on what we're feeling.
Okay.
Right? So like,
so you feel that pain from holding the comb, like acupuncture,
acupressure. Yep.
So you're holding that and you're not feeling maybe so much of what's happening.
Yeah, and your focus and your concentration is redirected to what you're feeling here. I'm at Virtua, mostly I would say, you know, 3 to 4 times a month, if not more, sometimes less. But like, if the nurses don't know me there, they probably at least recognize my face. And so I have no problem just being like, hey, this is what, you know, because our roles are very different.
Yes.
And just, it should be collaborative care. So kind of just pulling them aside and being like, hey, you know, just real quick, like, this is what she's desiring. Do you mind? Is it okay? Not even is it okay, like, we're going to keep the light off, you know? Are you still able to see? Or if you need to turn it on, can you just kind of like give her a little warning beforehand? Because anything can take a laboring person out of their space.
Has there ever been an experience where you really had to like put your foot down or like assert yourself when you're trying to advocate for your client? Okay, good.
Not there. It comes down to the education on what we do. And that's one of my main goals, is to try to elevate our profession and help other healthcare professionals know that like we're a part of the team. It should be collaborative care. We're not there to like sabotage. I'm not there to, you know, I'm there to make your job easier, truthfully. Like, I'm there to help. I'm there to make your job easier. And so that's kind of like my perception, how I've always looked at it. And I certainly have had really good experiences in the hospital, at some hospitals, and I've had experiences where I've had to like try really hard, and that I feel like it shouldn't be like that. Like, it's frustrating. It's like, I'm here I'm hired for a position, you know, like I'm hired for this role, and it's a very different role. Like, I've gotten to know these people on a personal level. I know intimate details about their lives that their healthcare providers might not know about. I'm sure they know other details of their lives, you know? And so it's like, I'm getting to know these people. I care deeply about them. And so it is like, I do get kind of protective. And yeah, it's important and helpful when we have people in the space that, oh my God! Oh my God! Yeah, it's such a huge, like, you know, we teach different breathing techniques, but like, you know, the one breathing technique I literally will use if I'm like home with my kids and overstimulated. But like, the only time I was really successful at meditation was when I was pregnant, which is interesting. Yeah, it is. And we'll have moments, or I've had moments where trying to navigate that has been tricky because I feel like I'm giving so much of myself consistently that it's like, okay, what's left? How do I fill my cup? Like, cliche as that sounds, like, but it really is like running, you know, you don't want to run on empty. My husband is a wonderful support. Like, I really don't feel like I could do this work without him. He's been such a important part of growing my business. And I'm so grateful to him, even when we don't get along. That is one thing that I will say. But honestly, like, he has been such a huge support for me. Where I am now, I am so grateful and excited and happy to sit down and talk to any new doula, because when people did that for me, it made such a difference. Yes. It made such a difference to me. So I have somebody who was a former client of mine who's now a mentee, so I'm so excited for her.
When they come back, you can see the growth.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I have, another former client who is doing some other things she's an occupational therapist, and so we're working together. And
yes, that
my space, in Audubon, I really want to grow that to just start hosting like more monthly mommy and me meetups, just to like build a community of like the clients that I have supported. I find myself being like, oh my God, you would totally get along with this other client that I have, and you guys are so similar, and I know that, and it's like, why don't I just post something? I have a space in Audubon, New Jersey. It's actually a shared space with a perinatal mental health therapist. So Alicia, it was her space first, Alicia Carpenter, and her and I know each other through mutual friends, which is just a coincidence that she's also in the perinatal field. And she had a space open up, and then I moved in April, and then our landlord was like, we have this other space open, would you guys like to move up here? And then it ended up working out even better. I'm there on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we have the space, available on the weekends too, and she's there and sees clients on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's where I do like my prenatals, and I also teach private classes there and sometimes group classes. And like I said, I would like to just start having like moms that are already in my community or my previous clients, or if they're expecting again, just come and meet other moms, because I feel like that is such a huge part of motherhood. Like, you need a village.
Yes.
You need a village, and our village doesn't always have the capacity to look like our family the way that it did, years ago. So you find village in like-minded moms going through the same journeys that you are. Oh my gosh, that's such a loaded question.
So it's like free reign, however you want to attack it.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Being a mom to daughters is there's so much. I mean, being a mother in general, you have a lot of pressure on yourself, but specifically daughters in this climate, if you think about it too much, it feels really overwhelming. So I think I want them to be happy in their own skin and, love the skin that they're in. That's one of the things that my mom, I will say, was always really good about. Like, she would look in the mirror and say things about herself and then look down at me and be like, but, blah, 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 and try to like spin it around. But, not even just like our cultural body image stuff, just overall rights and everything. It's, I just want them to be who they are and feel comfortable being who they are, whatever capacity that is for them. And I talk to them a lot. I think about like, even before getting into this work, but more so especially just like uplifting each other, supporting each other. Like, not everybody is going to be your friend, and that's okay, but you have to be kind to everyone. And I hope that that's something that like our generation, as we're raising women, are continuing to do too. That like mean girl culture is, not as prevalent.
Yes.
That's like one of my biggest hopes for boys too, for my son also. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that is a tough question.
We're in a tough time.
We are in a tough time, just in motherhood in general. You just want your kids to be safe and happy and healthy. And so how do you do that? It's like, they learn through example. I'm not perfect.
They learn through example, and you're definitely setting up.
Thank you. When I told them that I was doing this morning while we were getting ready, my son, who's like obviously obsessed with YouTube and like on YouTube all the time, he's like, you better talk about us. Like, what else am I going to talk about? What else am I going to talk about? We're going to talk about you guys.
How do they not come up?
Yeah. I feel like there's so much that I could still talk about too. As for somebody that's like trying to navigate the doula space, the new, becoming your baby doula, or you feel like your baby doula becoming a more confident doula, like just really, I don't know. It might take you a little bit to find your groove, but you will find it, and stay true to you, because your people will find you for sure. Like, I'm not going to be the doula for everybody, and that's all. That is perfectly okay. You have to have somebody that you trust and you want there. Like, I always tell my clients or potential clients, like, and this is the truth, I want you to feel like your best friend is there with you. I want you to feel like your best friend is with you, but like your best friend that's not going to judge you for whatever decision you make in the process. And that's like one of my big goals, obviously, to give them information in the process that's evidence-based so that they feel empowered to make those decisions, but it's not my place to judge for whatever they decide, you know. You're welcome.